Here is a question for you. Who is your role model? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Aaron. This is the Bible Applied, where we choose a bit of the Bible and just go through it. And today we're looking at Titus chapter 1, verse 5 to 9. And I'm very excited. In this video, we're going to look at how you can choose a great role model. Let's jump into this together. The reason I left you in Crete was that you might put in order what was left unfinished and appoint elders at every town as I directed you. An elder must be blameless, faithful to his wife, a man whose children believe and are not open to the charge of being wild or disobedient. Since an overseer manages God's household, he must be blameless, not overbearing or quick-tempered, not given to drunkenness, not violent, not pursuing dishonest gain. Rather, he must be hospitable, one who loves what is good, who is self-controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined. He must hold firmly to the trustworthy message as it has been taught, so that he can encourage others by sound doctrine and refute those who oppose it. Elders are to refute those who oppose it. Now, who is your role model? Two of my best role models were my parents. I learned a huge amount from them. But one other role model for me was my youth leader at church. Now, he used to help me in thinking the big things through, but he also used to share his life with me. He was a great role model. Now, Paul gives Titus a list of who he wants to be elders, but really the kind of type of person that should be elders. Now, when you think of elder, I hope you don't just think of old man, because elders, a really helpful way I've found of thinking about elders is role models. What was it about these role models that was going to be so special? Now, number one is that they had to be blameless. Now, I want you to imagine that you were at school. Well, you might be at school at the moment. Just imagine that you're at school and you had a supply teacher. Uh-oh, chaos. But this supply teacher was really good. Okay, so they walked in and everyone loved them and they were amazing. Okay, and you had a great lesson. It was absolutely fantastic. And afterwards, your friend came up to you and asked you what you just had. You were like, I just had maths, and that teacher was incredible. Now, it's only then that they tell you, even after that amazing lesson, that supply teacher was just arrested. Now, how does that change things? How does that make you feel? What they did to get arrested, it implies something about their character, doesn't it? It implies something about who they are because of what they've chosen to do. That's exactly the same reason why Paul says these guys need to be blameless. They're going to be role models. They're going to be starting the new church. Not perfect, obviously. No one's perfect, apart from me. These guys were going to be preaching and living out what it meant to be Christian. So if they were preaching and then they went out and got completely drunk, then people would have just laughed it off as really just a nice set of ideas. Did you see what was going on in Crete? So in verse 7, it says, since an overseer manages God's household, he must be blameless, not overbearing, not quick-tempered. See, they're all negative things. Try to think about the positives of that. See, being blameless for these guys meant being patient, submitting to one another, being kind, loving, and sober, so not getting drunk. They also needed to be peaceful and content. And he lists more in verse 8. Second thing, number 2, they had to be faithful. I want you to imagine that you got given a letter by a friend. Now, before you gave it to your other friend, you opened it, you pulled out the letter, you read it, and then you rewrote it. Now, I think before you gave it, if you were to give that to your other friend, it'd pretty much be morally wrong, right? See, you're writing as if you're someone else. Now, these guys who were the role models, they were the elders, they needed to preach well. They couldn't change the message. Bad preaching or changing the message is something these guys needed to avoid. Verse 9 says they need to hold to the trustworthy message as it has been taught. Pause! Are we in danger of doing that? Are we in danger of changing the message of Jesus Christ? Are we in danger of either minimizing Jesus, or are we in danger of maximizing sin? What are we in danger of doing? Are we teaching the trustworthy message as it has been taught? We need to know that it is morally wrong for us to change the message of God that He wants our friends to hear. So there we go. We don't change the message. Number three. These guys had to preach well. Now, do you tend to avoid conflict, or are you the type of person that just runs into it? Here's a little test for you. Are you the type of person that puts something up online knowing full well that you're going to get a reaction out of it? Now that tells me that you're the type of person that can run into conflict and feel great about it. But there are people who don't like conflict. These elders, these role models, they needed to run into conflict. They needed to seek battles. So when there were people that were putting their own spin on the letter, it was these guys' job to sort it out. They had to go in there and be like, no! These guys had to be blameless, faithful, and preach well. They had to know their stuff. That leads us to our application. So who is it that comes to mind for you when you think of people like this? Church elders, or deacons, or wardens, or whatever you call them in your church. They were supposed to be blameless, faithful, and to preach well. So for you, who comes to mind when you see that list? As you read through that bit of Titus, who is it that comes to mind in your heads? Who is it for you, Steve? Me? Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. So who are the elders at your church? Who are the people who are like this? Do you know them? Are they role models for you?
Listen to this.
When we say follow Jesus, what we mean is work out what you think Jesus would do in any situation. But that's informed by what we see Him doing in the Bible. So what Paul was saying here to Titus was give the people in the church a living example of what it means to follow Jesus. Now, who is that for you? Who is the living example for you? I'd say get involved with them. It can only do you good, right? Yes! Now, if it would be weird for you to get in contact with them and say, hey, I was watching this video, I'd love to meet up and have a coffee or a chat or something. If that's going to be weird, maybe you could ask your family to invite them over for a meal or for a drink or whatever. Get to know them. They're supposed to be role models. They're supposed to be leaders. They're supposed to be people who are faithful and loving and kind. Get involved with the leaders at your church. But just make sure that today you choose to do something for those in your church who are the role models, those who are blameless, faithful, and who teach well. Right, that's me done. Aaron out. Yeah! Steve's challenge. This is where Steve has set me some challenges which I hope to be able to ace. Now, if you want to get involved with these challenges, there's a Facebook group that you can join. If you go and find the Bible Applied Facebook page and like that, then you'll be able to find the Facebook group where you'll be able to upload your versions of these challenges and see if you can do better than me, which may not be that hard. So, first ones, thank you, Steve, is perform a magic trick. The best magic trick wins. This is the best magic trick that I know. It's a pack of cards. Thank you, Steve, for these. Steve, can you just tell me when to stop? Is that okay? Just about there? Is that all right? We'll just, yeah, oh, fine. All right, we'll stop there. We'll just cut the cards just so that you know that there's no sort of weird order to these. There's fronts and there's backs to these cards. Okay, there's nothing dodgy going on. This is a pack of cards. In fact, I can show you this pack of cards. Look, there you go. Lots of different cards. Now, Steve, could you please tell me when to stop? You ready? You need to go quicker than that. Tell me when to stop. Okay, right, about there. All right. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to see if you can have a look at that card. Okay, I'm looking away. That's going to be the card that you've chosen. All right? Got it? Good. Okay, that's going in. I'll leave that on the table. Okay, so there's nothing funny going on. Now, if I were to cut the deck, let's say about there, okay, and then we cut it again, let's say about there, I know that your card has now, from those two cuts, come straight to the top. Okay? Let's just see by your facial expression, am I correct? Yes, okay. So as cards come to the top, let's cut that back into the deck. We'll say stop about there. Okay, so we'll stop, we'll cut the deck there, put that card on top. Now I know that if I click my fingers, that your card is the top card. Okay, let me see by round of applause whether this is that. Yep, good, okay, round of applause everyone, thank you. Okay, now this card trick is actually quite easy because if you take this card, okay, this is the 4 of spades, okay, it might be worth doing it on this camera. Okay, can you see that 4 of spades? Is that right, you can see that? Yeah. Okay, now if I were, so this 4 of spades, you can see it, look, just make sure that you keep your eye on the 4 of spades, okay, and then you'll find that actually it magically turns into the ace of clubs, which I'm assuming is your card. But the amazing thing is that actually the ace of clubs in doing this has ultimately caused the whole pack of cards to go into the ace of clubs. What an amazing magic trick. Good. If you can do better than that, then I'd like to see your video. So if you can upload a video of you doing a magic trick to the Facebook group, that would be amazing. Steve's challenge completed.